Hi, in today's video I'm going to take a look at using Kodi to play content from YouTube. Now you may be aware that there is an add-on for Kodi to enable YouTube, but the issue is that it requires you to create an API key in your Google account. So what I'm going to do is actually show you two different methods to play content from YouTube using strm files. The first method will use pilfer a set of scripts I wrote, an mpv, to play the video as an external player. The second method is going to use the internal video player and the Invidious plugin. I'm also going to show you how to subscribe to playlists and channels as well. So what I'm going to do is switch across to the let me just move this across. All right, so what I'm going to do is open up Kodi. Okay, so what we have here first of all is my favorites, and I'll get into this later. This is how you can subscribe to playlists and channels. But what I want to do is actually take you through and show you the different methods that we can use to play videos from YouTube. So first of all, what I've done is in your files section here, what I've done is I've just created a source called YouTube. So you come through, click, browse, select that, click OK, and let me just cancel that. And you set that up, and we don't set it up with a scraper. We don't set it up with IMDb or the TV thing to scrape. What we've got in here is a couple of strm files. So what I'm going to do is actually show you how these work. So let me switch across to the laptop. So what we've got here, I increase the font, no, okay. So what we've got here is 3 files, and what I'm going to do is take you through these. So first of all, we have the YouTube strm, and what this is basically just a YouTube link in a text file with an strm file extension. So this is the first file. So let me just switch back across to the monitor and show you this. So here's the strm file. So actually what I want to do is I'm going to change my player core factory XML file first of all. So let me just come out of Kodi to show you how this works by default. On user data, player core factory XML, and I'll explain all this as I go along. So just bear with me as I comment out this section. Okay, I'll switch back to the monitor, open up Kodi. Okay, and you can see I don't have the YouTube add-on installed. So what I'm going to do is just come across and just pour some more tea. And you can see we've got the YouTube url.strm file here. And as I showed you, that's just a text file with a YouTube link in it. So if I press return here, what's going to happen, it's going to look like it's going to start, and then it's going to say playback failed, 1 or more items failed to play. Check the log for more information. So by default, if you have a strm file for YouTube link in it and don't have the YouTube add-on set up with an API key, they're not going to play. So this is where method 1 comes in. And what we're going to be doing is using a set of scripts that I wrote 5 or 6 years ago called pilfer. And what this does is it works with the player core factory XML file in Kodi, which provides a contextual menu for players that you can use to play videos. And what we basically do is we take the URL and run it through a script to actually convert the Kodi URL into URLs that could be played by things like mpv. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press C on the keyboard, and you'll see we get this contextual menu come up, and we have play using. Okay, and this menu here corresponds to all the entries in the player core factory XML file that is stored in Kodi user data player core factory XML. And what we've got here is the default video player default, and that is the default built-in video player, which basically is what happens when you just press return on the keyboard. It just plays in the default built-in player. The next option we've got here is one that I've defined using my set of scripts called pilfer with mpv as an external player. So what happens is we're going to grab the URL from Kodi, run it through this script to reformat the URL, and then pass it off to mpv, which uses YTDLP in the back end so that it can play YouTube video. So when I click play here, what's going to happen is it's going to say watch. Give it a second.
Yes, guys, how's it going? Welcome
there we
back
go. There's
to
Rubenstein.
a new video. Hope you guys are all enjoying the weekend, the lovely sunshine.
Okay, so you can see that's worked. However, as you can see, the issue is to play that. It's a bit of a palaver, isn't it? You've got to press C on the keyboard, come down, go play using, go play. That's a bit of a pain. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to exit out of Kodi and come back to over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncomment this section here. And this is the player core factory XML file. So let me just take you through this. So what we've got up here is these different options like save URL. And what we've got here is the first entry, play, external player, false. And I'll explain all these settings in due course. But basically, you can see here we've got different players that we can define, like play, record video and stuff. And what we can do at the bottom is we've got this rule section. And what this does is this lets you override the built-in video player to use your own video player defined in this file. So what we're saying here is rule internet stream player equals play. So this rule applies to all internet streams. So any URL that is not local, not a local file, will be using this rule. Okay, switch back and open up Kodi again and show you the change. So I'll come back into that file, YouTube, and now when I press return on the keyboard, what's going to happen is it's going to by default use that video player that we've defined and open the video
guys,
in
how's it
mpv.
going? Welcome
so there you go.
back to
So that's how we can create a strm file with a YouTube link in it, and then override the built-in player to use mpv, which can play the URLs. So that's the first method. So what I'm going to do now is actually show you the second method of using the Invidious plugin. What I'm going to do is actually just quit out of Kodi again and re-edit that. I'm going to comment that out again, that rule, and switch across to Kodi here. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the contents of the text file. So what we've got here is the next method 2, which is using the Invidious plugin. So what you'll see here is we have a completely different URL. We've got a URL that actually calls the plugin. So what we'll have look at is the actual syntax here. We've got plugin video Invidious, action equals play underscore video, and video ID equals and the ID. And this is the ID from the YouTube URL. Okay, so what this does is, let me have a go in here, Kodi, oops. Add-ons, plugin video Invidious, resources, lib, Invidious plugin. So this is the main Invidious plugin file, and this is where we can actually see the functions that are used with this plugin. So this is the actual URL that we're going to be using. So let me just switch across to the YouTube add-on page. So this is the page on the Kodi wiki that describes how you can use strm files with the official YouTube add-on that requires the API key. And what it does is it actually shows you the format of the URL and the URL by calling the plugin. So you can see here we've got the URL and then the stream URL. So the syntax for the Invidious version is slightly different. You can see here we've got plugin, play, video ID equals. Whereas on Invidious, what we need is this format, and I had a look through the code to actually make sure we've got all the correct parameters that we need. So basically what this does is this calls the plugin with the video ID. So let me switch across to the monitor here and come across. So I've changed the player core factory XML file back so that it is using the default built-in video player. So now when I click on this Invidious plugin.strm, what's going to happen, as you can see here, is now opening that in the default video player. There's Rubenstein again. So that's opening up in the default video player and playing a YouTube video by taking the ID and calling the Invidious plugin. Now, obviously, you need the Invidious plugin installed first of all, so let's take a look at that. So, add-ons. I always forget where you go to add-ons. Yeah, so install from repository, video add-ons. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Invidious. Okay, so there's Invidious. And if you come across into the add-on, you click here, configure. What you've got here is these are the actual settings, automatically pick instance, and this is the default Invidious instance it's going to use. So you can either use a public Invidious instance, or you could self-host one using Podman or Docker, and I covered that in a previous video. But the reason I'm showing you the default URL will become apparent in a second, because we can use that URL with mpv to create what's called an automatic conditional profile. So that's installing Invidious. There's not really many settings, but you can specify the instance URL or just pick one automatically. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm just going to come back, exit out of this for a second, and come back across to here and take you to my mpv config. Okay, so this is my mpv.conf file, and what you can do in this is actually create profiles that apply to particular URLs. So what we do is we create a default profile, and then we can include those settings in other profiles as well. So what I'm going to do is just take you down to the bottom here. So what we've got here is the name of the profile. We've got the description and the profile condition. So what you'll see here is profile condition path find HTTP :s, so it could be HTTP or S, and then we've got the URL of the Invidious instance that Kodi is using. And what we're doing here is we're saying include the hardware detection profile, which is the one at the top, the default. We can override the cache settings, but here's the important point: is we can set this to be full screen and specify the monitor that we want this video to be played on. So whenever we open a link from Kodi, what we can do is, if we were playing a Invidious link from Kodi with mpv, we can actually specify the URL to catch and the settings that we want to apply. So basically what this means is whenever I open a Invidious link from Kodi with mpv, it's always going to be full screen and set on my second display. Okay, so let's just switch back to there. Do I need to change my player core factory back again? Yeah, might as well just do that. Okay, right, monitor. And I hope I wasn't just recording all that on the wrong thing. But anyway, here we go. Kodi. Right. So that's those two methods. That's how you can automatically play this YouTube video with the default player overridden to use mpv. So we just press return and it's always going to open mpv. And then we've got the Invidious. So now if I click the Invidious one, and mpv is set as the default, see if this works. Okay, and this should open up in a second.
Yes, guys,
there
how's it going? Welcome back to In.
So what I wanted to do is also show you that if you've got an strm file with the Invidious plugin URL, you can still have it opened with mpv, as I was just showing you with the mpv.config. So those are the two settings there. We've got the two methods. First, using pilfer and mpv as an external player, and the second using the built-in player but with the Invidious plugin. So next thing I want to show you is how you can create favorites of YouTube channels and playlists. Okay, so the issue is, as I showed you, you can create strm files to play a individual video. And in a previous video, I actually showed you how you can scan strm files into your YouTube folder as movies or TV. But of course, a lot of content on YouTube isn't a movie or TV that's going to be scrapable using IMDb, or the TV movie database. So you can't actually create a strm file with a link to a playlist. Okay, so you can only link to an individual file, an individual video with an strm file. You can't actually create a playlist. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so playlist strm. Pull down one here. So this is the format for viewing a playlist with Invidious. You can see here we've got plugin video, Invidious, action, view playlist, playlist ID, and the ID from a YouTube channel, YouTube playlist. And what I want to do is actually show you the favorites, so you'll get an idea. Kodi user editor favorites. So what we've got here, I won't zoom this in too much, but we've got channel here. So what we've got here is a favorite, and you'll see we've got the thumb. Then what you'll see is we've got this section here, activate window, and then plug in Invidious action view channel ID. So you got that's how the favorites save links to channels. And if I've got one with a playlist, yeah, here, so you can see action view playlist and playlist ID equals, and that corresponds to what I was showing you in this one. So you can see the difference between the two is that in the favorites, what you've got is activate window and then the code to call the plugin. Whereas in the strm file, you can just put this. You can't put the activate window bit in. Okay. So let's switch back to this. So this is how the favorites looks basically. So I can come into any of these. So okay, let's come into some of these. So what I've got here is Sledgehammer. I won't play any of these, copyright and all that. But this is ATTV Sledgehammer spoof series, and you can see a lot on some of these we don't actually get the description. So it is a bit hit and miss whether you get the description, but you will get the image here. The next thing is if you're using MPV as an external player, and you open one of these links and you play a bit of the video of an MPV, and you can actually quit MPV and save the position. Kodi will just show you that it's been watched. It won't show you the progress because it's played with an external player. You only get the progress if you're using the internal player. So you have an icon showing, you know, whether it's sort of been played or part played or not played. So you only get those options if you're using the internal player, not an external player. And as I said here, you're not getting descriptions. Let's come into another one, Thriller. So this is a 1970s TV series. It's a bit supernatural with lots of people you'll recognise. People like Dennis Waterman, Dave from Minder, John LeMessurier from Dad's Army. But what you'll see here is we're not getting the description. So let me come across to another one, see if we get descriptions for these. Okay, here's Newcastle After Dark, which is another channel. And you can see we're actually getting the description. So that's quite nice. What I want to do is actually show you another thing. On some things, people will actually put the same bit of text up at the top of their description, and so we can see on Rubenstein's channel he's got the same thing, same description come up, so we don't actually see anything about that, and that's just the way his channel's formatted. So I just wanted to show you that. So what I want to do now is actually show you how you set this up and how do you subscribe to playlists and channels. So as I said, you can't subscribe to playlists and channels using strm files or m3u8 files or playlists or anything like that. The only way is actually using favorites. So what we're going to do is come into Invidious, and you don't have many options here. So you've got search, trending and popular. If I come into here, what you'll see is wonder what that noise was. I think it's a bird tweeting outside. So what you'll have here is a list of your previous searches, which is actually stored in a JSON file in the Kodi add-on. So what you need to do is come across and do new search. So if you want to search for something, a channel perhaps, so let me just write David Pacman, which is like a left-leaning sort of political show in the US. So what you'll see here is this is actually showing the actual channel. Okay, so if I come in here, you can see this is the actual channel. So what we need to do is we come across here and press C on the keyboard, and you'll see add to favorites. So that's added the channel to the favorites. And if I come across to the favorites again, you'll see it's now listed at the bottom, and we've got the sort of thumbnail here. So what you can do is you can press C on the keyboard on the favorite, and you actually get these options: move up, move down, choose thumbnail, rename, or remove. And it's actually easier to move these items up and down by editing the favorites.xml file, because it's otherwise you're going to spend ages moving each one individually around. So as I see here, you can now open all these up. So let's have a look for a playlist. So I'm trying to think of a say we want something like 80s pop or something. Let's say 80s pop. Okay, so what you'll see is the difference between channels and playlists versus individual files in the Kodi layout. So you can see these ones up at the top here. All these, see these ones here. We've got a folder indicating that they're either a channel or a playlist, whereas the ones with these small dots are individual, videos. So again, what you just do is you come across onto here, go into it, see, got everything you want. Right. Okay, so you can then do add to favorites and come back into favorites, and you'll see that it's now down at the bottom. So what you can actually do is let me pick one. Okay, so if you come across onto the very top of the either playlist or channel, onto the two dots, because basically you can, let me just come back out of this, sorry. So when you're on the favorites page here and you press C, you just have options for interacting with the actual favorite. As I said, moving it up, down, choose thumbnail, rename, remove. You don't have any actions to actually play it directly, so you've got to go into favorite before you can interact with it. So now let me choose another one, because I've managed to nose that up. Okay, so when you're at the very top up here on the two dots, you can actually, as I say, you can go down each of these and press return to play them. If you want to play all of them, what you can do is come up the top. I thought you could come up to the top here. I thought there was a way you can actually or do you need to go from the first one? Okay, so you need to go from the first one and then play from here. So my bad, memory. I thought you had to go to the very top. You got to go to the first item in the playlist or the channel, and then do play from here. And I'm not actually going to do this. And the way that this works is different if you are using the internal player versus the external player. And it's not actually a playlist, it's just playing the videos one after. I mean, technically it's doing the same thing, but it's not actually a playlist. So if you do play from here, I said, right, play from here. With the internal player, what's going to happen is it's going to play the first video. When that's finished, it's going to play the second video and so on through the list. With an external player, what will happen is it's going to open up MPV for the first video. And MPV has support for playlists, but it will only play the first video in this list. When the video is finished with MPV, it will quit. It will turn back to Kodi. Kodi will then open up another video, and that will open up in MPV. So what would happen is if I did this, it would like it wouldn't open all of the videos in one list in MPV. It'd be like you opening up multiple videos manually, one after another. And the issue with an external player is there isn't it will just keep opening the video. So if you quit one video, it will open the next one, and that's kind of can be a bit annoying because it's going to pop up loads of videos. So I just wanted to show you the option there. So it said, you know, we've got the play using, which brings this up. We've got the sort of default, and these are all the options in Pilfer here that we have. We've got play, which obviously plays the video with MPV, and all of these options here can also be used with task spooler, which is a command line application on Unix and Linux to queue up a series of commands to be executed sequentially. So what this does is you can actually say, come through and go record video on all the different links, and it will queue them up with task spooler and record them one after another. Play using, so we've got record, which will just rip the whole thing, record 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, record audio. And I've got links to all the Pilfer videos on get what it's called. That it's there's a thing that pulls all my videos in from YouTube, because YouTube started taking all the videos down, so I had to move them all. So okay, so this is actually Newcastle After Dark, and just while I'm in here, I thought I'd just go through and point out a couple of good movies you might want to have a look at. House 2 is terrible. The first one was great. The second one's got all these stupid cuddly creatures in. Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, excellent movie. It's actually got Benny from LA Law, who was also in Darkman as the baddie, and lots of early 80s characters that you'll remember. But this is a really good movie. Monster Club, terrible. Inferno is a Dario Argento movie, not one of his best, got a few good moments. Mr. Frost, I didn't like that. That's with Goldberg, get his name, the one that was in The Fly. Crucible of Terror, that's a sort of like 70s anthology thing with one of the guys from the Light Lads, not really that great, not as good as some of the others. Creep Show 2, a few good things, not as good as the first. Classic Night of the Living Dead. And what else we got here? Hang on, Night of the Living Dead. And that's a sort of 70s hammer horror, as they're on their way out. Pin, that's a good one. This is a Canadian horror movie about an anatomical dummy. Very, very creepy. The The Midas Touch, excellent movie with Richard Burton and Lee Remick. The way it's filmed is very like The Omen, but that's a really, really good movie. Really dark. What else we got here? Silent Night, Bloody Night, Countess Dracula, of course, The Omen, classic. More anthologies kind of stuff. Dawn of the Dead, classic. So this is Newcastle After Dark. So that's New and then Castle After Dark, as you can see here. And basically what they do is they come in with a little intro about the movie, and halfway through they'll give you a little recap. I think they do that to get around the copyright issues. But that's basically how you can subscribe to, not subscribe to, but you can create a link to a YouTube channel or playlist in Invidious to display the stuff. So you can't, Kodi doesn't have the ability to subscribe to RSS feeds for YouTube channels or playlists. And the issue with YouTube RSS feeds is typically they're going to be limited to the last 10 or 20 items in the channel or playlist. So you don't get the full list of videos. Using this technique, so I can come into Newcastle United here. This is basically showing me all the stuff on here. So let me just come across here. So this is Newcastle United. Let me just come across to YouTube. Okay, you can see here Newcastle United videos. Interview Lloyd Kelly joins Newcastle, behind the scenes. Okay, so if I now switch back across here, you can see that all those video entries correspond to what's on the YouTube channel. So this is great because you can actually view the whole channel or the whole playlist. You can see here, it's nice to have, you know, the thumbnail, you know, and the description and the ability to see all of these and, you know, and play them. Whereas, you know, if you're using another method, there isn't really another method to actually show channels and playlists in YouTube that I'm aware of. There may, as I said, even RSS feeds wouldn't work because it wouldn't bring the whole thing in, and typically you might not get all the information that you're getting here. So it's a really nice way of being able to not subscribe, as I said, but bring up all your channels and playlists that you like from YouTube, and then either using the Invidious plugin with the internal player, play the videos, or use MPV. And now I would actually recommend using MPV as your default player, as I've shown you, setting up the Player Core Factory XML file with the default player, because the MPV player uses substantially less CPU than the built-in Kodi player, which can hit like 20-25%, where MPV will be like, you know, usually about 5-6-7% or something like that. So that's why I would use MPV. Also, it's I've always found the Kodi built-in player a bit clunky. So let me just come across to a couple of things that I came across. So system, first thing you need to do is probably set your audio device. So come into system, audio device, and select your correct audio device. I typically turn off things like screensavers and that sort of thing. let me just go through. So this is where you can set up your sources. I don't think there's anything we needed to set up there. Media, was that the same one? Yeah. Okay, the interface. When you come to the interface, go to skin, configure skin, and main menu items, and this is how you can toggle off a lot of the unused menu items that will appear there by default. So favorites, there was a plugin called Super Favorites a few years ago that let you manage your favorites, but I don't know if it works with the current version of Kodi anymore. So the issue is when you favorite stuff, it's just going to come up in this view with the default skin. There are obviously other skins that you can install. I think Aeon is a popular one, but I just really didn't like it. Maybe better on a TV, but on a computer, I found it really tricky to navigate. But I think some other skins have the ability to manage your favorites with widgets or things like that, so that maybe you could split this up. But with the default skin, everything's just going to come up like this. And as I say, of course, to the laptop and favorites. Okay, so what you'll see down here is we've got the favorites. So my 80s video. I don't know if I can actually delete this while Kodi's. It will let me come back across. Hang on. No, see, it's not. I'll if I switched across to the right thing. Even though I removed that, it doesn't actually show up as being removed until I quit that. Okay, so now, so you can edit, if you edit the favorites file while Kodi's open, it won't pick up the changes. You have to quit Kodi, edit the favorites file, and then restart Kodi. And the reason why you might want to do that, as I said, is just so that you can reorder these things, because as I said, you can, move up and down, but you wanted to move that to the very top, you'd have to click on that multiple times to move it all the way to the top. So the easier way to do that is just by editing the Kodi user data favorites.xml file manually and moving the entries up and down by copying and pasting them. So you'll see you've got the favorite name, the thumb. This is another reason why you might want to use, well, the favorites are better than trying to do it in any other way, because it's going to pull in the thumbnail. I tried using strm files and seeing if it's possible to add stuff like thumbnails and description and stuff, but I think you've got to do that with an external NFO file, and the amount of effort you could have to go through just to get that into a file is be a bit of a pain. You'd have to get the YouTube thumbnail using YTDLP and all this kind of palaver, so not really worth it. So a recap. So Kodi, the YouTube add-on, requires personal API keys from Google, so you've got to go into your Google account and create an API key, which is a bit of a faffle. It also means that obviously all your watch history and everything is logged by Google, which you might not want. So that's why we're using the Invidious plugin, and this is Pilfer that I've been talking about. You can see 7 years ago, still going strong. Basically, this is a set of Python scripts that work on Mac, Windows, Linux, Unix, and there's a separate installer for Windows. And basically, you use these scripts with the player core factory XML file to give you different options when you're playing a video. So either play it externally or do other things with it. So those are the instructions, and you set up for all the different systems, and how you can install this with pip and pipx. And what I've got here that I'll also link to is how you can use a virtual environment as well. So this is the instructions for creating a virtual environment on FreeBSD, but it'd be the same on Linux or Mac. It'd just be a different package that would be installing. And so first of all, on Kodi on FreeBSD, what we want to install is Kodi, and a lot of versions of Kodi on different systems will actually have the input stream adaptive plugin as a package rather than something you install from within Kodi. So within Kodi, you can install these different packages or certain plugins. Let me just check this is on the right thing. Okay. Certain plugins will have different dependencies, like BBC iPlayer requires the input adaptive and plugin, and basically what will happen is it will sort of fail. If you've got Kodi installed and you try and install some plugin that requires the input stream adaptive add-on, it will fail. So you actually need to install it from your package manager. So that's one thing to check. On FreeBSD, I'm installing the Python virtual environment. Now these commands here will be exactly the same on Linux, Unix, and Mac. So what we're doing here is we're using Python 3 virtual environment pilfer. We activate the environment. We install the package, pip install, use pep 517 git plus https. This bit here is actually needed so you can actually install from GitHub, and then we activate the virtual environment. One thing to note with the with virtual environments is you actually need to activate them when you log in, so they're not automatically enabled when you log in. So you need to actually activate this, and you could set this in you could automate that by putting it in your shell startup script or whatever. And what we've got here is the player core factory XML file, and if you come across player core factory XML, so we've got all the player core factory XML files for Linux, Unix, Mac, Windows, and we've got the player core factory XML file here, and we've got the one with task spooler. And task spooler, as I said, is a command line program that lets you queue up commands to be executed one after another. And what I just wanted to show you is, by default, when you install pilfer using pip pipx, the path is going to be home local bin pilfer or pilfer play. When you're installing it with a virtual environment, as I showed you in this setup here, the path is actually home pmv pilfer bin pilfer. That's installed with a virtual environment. You can see this TS here is for task spooler. On some distributions, the command is TSP. And this basically, as I said, lets you queue stuff up, have different actions performed on it. So those are the things there. We come back to the main page of pilfer. Okay, pilfer install. Odyssey, that's what it's called. So I've got a whole series of my old Kodi videos on Odyssey, and basically I had to take them down off YouTube. After they'd been up there about 7 years, they started flagging all my videos, and I had to take them down. So that's pilfer, and that's basically the external player, using MPV as an external player, and you're thinking, why can't I just use MPV directly in my player core factory XML file? Why do I need this set of scripts? And the reason is, as I said, that Kodi URLs are formatted differently than other players such as MPV or VLC, or applications like FFmpeg will expect. They can't play them. So what these scripts actually do is take the Kodi URL and checking I'm still on the right thing. It takes the Kodi URL, uses regular expressions to find bits of code like user agent, cookies, referrer, that kind of stuff, and actually reformats it into a standard FFmpeg command that's kind of used by most players, like, as I say, MPV, FFmpeg, VLC. Not so much VLC, actually. It doesn't have support for HTTP headers like user agent, referrer, or cookie, but MPV does, and so does FFmpeg. So the commands, basically the long and short of it is the Kodi URLs need to be reformatted to actually be able to be played with external video players. So that's why we use this script and MPV, because MPV has support for HTTP headers, as I said, user agent, referrer, cookies, all that kind of stuff, whereas players like VLC don't. So that's why we use MPV. So that's the first method, using pilfer with MPV, and said the second method was using, let me just actually, well, I remember, go back to the, go back to my Kodi user data, player core factory XML. So we got the player core factory XML file. The important thing is you need to enable this little bit down at the bottom. Rule internet stream equals to player equals play, which is the player defined at the top, which uses MPV. The other thing that we did was config mpv.conf. We created a conditional profile for Invidious URLs so that certain parameters are automatically applied to MPV when it plays those streams, such as you can turn the cache on or off, and you can set it full screen. You can set which monitor it's displayed on, so that when we're in Kodi, we can just click the link and it's going to open in MPV. So let's come back across there. So I can just come into my favorite. So that's the other thing I want to do, actually, while I'm thinking of it, is every time I start up Kodi, I actually want it to start up with the favorites page. I don't want it to start up with anything else. So I think, is it an interface? I typically remove the slide information, main menu items, artwork. Yeah, I usually disable artwork. But there is a section somewhere. Startup. Yeah. So let me just come back here. So settings, interface, startup, perform on startup none, startup window. And this is where you can choose the startup window. So by default, it's like home window, but I set it to favorites. And basically what that does is it will open it up in this view. And as I said, with the default skin, we've got no options to organize this. You can, if we come across to the options down here, you can change the sort by user preference. I guess user preference, sort by name. So looks like there is a way to sort by name. So I presume user preference means what's in the factory favorites.xml file. Or I presume the other option will actually override the order set in that, and it will just sort it alphabetically or whatever. But we've got the view type icon wall, shift wide list, wall, no, icon wall, shift wide list. Don't know if the wide list. Yeah, I'm not sure if I like the wide list. Actually, it's probably easier. That's probably an easier view to navigate. So let's just have another look at this. So wall, so this is the default. Yeah, and the issue with this layout is if you're using a mouse, if you're using the keyboard, you've got to use the arrow keys. So it's a bit of a pain to, you know what I mean, come across like this, and you know that it's all going to go like that. So that's a bit of a pain. So maybe the best, you got the icon wall. I think the wide list is the most convenient because you got it like that, and you can just that's much more sort of convenient in my opinion. So let's come into one of these. Okay, I can't play any of these really, but you'll see we're getting all the information come up here. Let's find one that I can actually play. Let's do Gary H. Okay, so what we got here is we got this all set up so that rather than, you know, having to come across press C, play using, and then play, so we can just press return. It's going to whir away. It's going to say how. It's going to print the name up there. Give it a second. It's going to open an MPV.
Over the weekend, I was asked if I knew how to reset a Windows local password.
Okay, and you can see it's actually been marked as played, even though we only played part of the video. Let me see if I can show you this resuming. So what I'm going to do, just open this up again.
Over the weekend, I was asked if I knew how to reset Windows.
5 or 6 seconds in. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to press Shift Q, and what that does is that actually remembers the playback position when MPV is stopped. So if I now press return again, it should jump back into 6 seconds in MPV. Give it a second.
Local.
So you can see there,
password.
It's resumed the position that we quit, and you have to do Shift Q for that. Q just quits it. Shift Q remembers the position. But you can see Kodi doesn't show the. It just shows it's being watched. If I open this one with the default, and again, remember the tip: play from here. And how that works. So play from here is going to play all the videos from that point to the end of the channel, or the playlist sequentially, one after the other. If they're in, if you're using the built-in player, that they'll play, as you'd expect, one video will play, the next one will play after that's finished. If you're using an external player, what happens is the external player quits, and then another player opens up. It doesn't play them all as a playlist. It plays the videos individually, one after another. But anyway, if I do play using here and do video player default, you can see this is using the Invidious plugin. So, all right, leave that 6 seconds. I'll pause that quick. I'm just not a big fan of the thing that you do have more settings and subtitles and information and stuff like that, but right, it should have actually shown me. Usually, I could have sworn it's shown you position. Maybe I haven't actually gone into it and played. Oh, now it's going to open the external player. Maybe got to play further. Let me just quit this. Okay. Play using default. Let me just see if I move the cursor to here. What's the seeking like? Okay, no, the seeking's pretty good. I'll give the Kodi player that. It should show. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was trying to show you. You got a little circle with the watch position indicated. So you only get that if you're actually using the built-in player. So that's just something else I wanted to show you. But I think this is probably the easiest sort of layout to use. And as I said, you can go to options here, sort by use preference. So let's try this. What happens if I do name? Okay, it does. Yeah, so it does actually sort it by name. So, you know, if you didn't want to faff about, because the issue might be that suppose you're constantly adding, suppose you're like a neat freak and you actually want this always to be in alphabetical order. The issue is every time you add a new favorite, it appends it to the bottom of the list. So you'd be constantly editing your favorites file to sort of reorganize stuff. So let me just check that doesn't. I'm just wondering if that actually. Let's see if that actually changes the. No, okay. I was just having a look at the actual the favorites file. I was wondering if it actually, you know, reordered the favorites file. It doesn't change the favorites file. It just changes how it's displayed within Kodi, so that it's displayed alphabetically. So if we come back in here, we can do sort by user preference, and it will put it back to how it was originally, so that you can kind of group some channels, you know, your most frequent and then the less frequent at the bottom perhaps, or, you know, whatever, you know, tech, football, whatever, but you don't have the ability to organize this with the default skin any other way. You can't create folders or anything like that. And as I said, super favorites used to be included in the Kodi repo by default, but it's not anymore. So that's a look at how you can use strm files. Two methods we've got here. So again, the YouTube url.strm is a text file with a strm extension with a YouTube link in it, and if you try and play that with the default player, as I said, they're using cannot be played. Okay, yeah, using mpv, I just press return here. So once it's all set up, it's easy
Yes,
to.
guys, how's it going? Welcome back.
Easy to use. You know, you don't have to go through and do this each time. Play using play. That'd be really irritating. Just press return. And again, this is the Invidious plugin. So let's just have another look at the actual format of that. So the format for the Invidious plugin for individual videos. Just checking out I wasn't recording the right screen. Again, as I said, you can't create a strm file or an m3u8 file and put in a playlist ID. It doesn't work. you have to use the favorites with the activate window thing so that it opens up the Invidious plugin with the channel or playlist and displays that. But for individual videos, what you can do is use this syntax after you've installed the Invidious plugin, and that is plugin.video.invidious. This bit is required !action equals play _ video and video ID equals, and that is the ID from any video. So if I come across here, okay, hopping is fair. So copy URL. So basically what you got to do is take the YouTube URL like that and copy after the equals. Okay, and now if I come back to here, and usually what I do is just come out of it and go back in just so it kind of refreshes. And now if I click the Invidious plugin, so if I just press return, it's going to open with MPV like this. Give it a second.
It is back in Newcastle.
Okay, if I press C, play using video player. So that's the built-in one. You can see it's now playing with the built-in video player there. What I did look at was the reason I looked at using the Invidious URLs was because I thought maybe that it would pull in the thumbnail and description, but it didn't. So I was thinking maybe you know, instead of just using the regular YouTube link, you can see just using this YouTube URL stream, we don't have any metadata, we've got no image, got nothing. So what I was hoping was maybe if I used the Invidious plugin thing, it would pull in the metadata, but it doesn't. Add to favorites, browse into. So sometimes you'll see this browse into option in the menu, and that only works with playlist files like M3U files that have got multiple entries. And when you do that, what you'll do is you'll actually see all of the entries in that playlist one by one. I'm on Kodi 20 at the moment. Kodi 21 is going to have support for M3U8 files, but I don't think that's going to change how YouTube playlists and channels work. You still won't be able to sort of put channel or playlist links into those to get it to work. So with the individual strm files, basically you don't have any metadata or any images. I showed you in a previous video how you can actually scan in strm files for video, for movies and TV series from YouTube, but you can't do that for things that are just regular videos because there's nothing to scrape, and we haven't got a way to actually grab the information. I mean, you could, as I said, you could use NFO files probably, but setting those up for just one video would be a pain, to be honest. So I'm not sure if there's a way you could automate that to create an strm file and an NFO file for a video on YouTube that isn't a movie or TV show, so that you can get the metadata and the images. So that's why using strm files for individual videos isn't great. It's okay for movies and TV shows, but what you really want is it's much easier to subscribe to a channel or playlist, because then you're actually going to get all of that information pulled in automatically. So you're going to get all of this. So if I come across to this, let me just show you videos. Okay, so you can see these are the videos, and if I click across here, you'll see we've actually got the same exact content just in Kodi, basically. And this is all done with Invidious. And the only weak point in the favoriting all these channels and playlists using Invidious is if the instance goes down. So you may occasionally get a thing where you go into a thing and it will say Invidious error or something. So you've got to kind of come out and go back in. But if you're having any issues with Invidious, you've got to go to the add-ons. Add-ons. Forget where you manage these things. My add-ons. Video add-ons. Invidious. Configure. And then you can actually change the instance URL. So you can automatically pick, or you can specify one that it's always going to use. So if you've got your own Invidious instance, which can be run with Podman or Docker, you could specify that. And let's have a look at the input stream. Okay. This is the input stream adaptive that's required by BBC iPlayer, and again I had to, even though I've installed this add-on here, I also had to install the package using my package manager as well. So that's pretty much the gist of it all. So that's how we can either have individual strm files. So as I said, we can have YouTube links, so you can just whack a YouTube link in an strm file and have it in a media source that you've set up in Kodi, but you won't get any metadata. You're not going to get the images or anything like that. But you can set it up so that first method, we can just open it with mpv, or if you don't want to do that using mpv and pilfer, you can set it up to use the Invidious thing. So the disadvantage of using the Invidious option is you've got to manually, you can't just paste in a YouTube link. You've got to put in the link to the plugin and then put the ID in. But once you do that, all the videos will play in the default player. So the only issue is if there's any issues with that particular instance of Invidious. So that's the only kind of weak point. So I would, for regular links, I would just use YouTube and use mpv as an external player. And again, remember to tip out the conditional profile for the Invidious links. And if you change the Invidious instance you're using, just remember to create a new profile for mpv to catch that link. So yeah, we got the ability to create individual links for individual videos and have them open up. But I think the nice thing is actually having all the favorites like this. Then coming to Robunoogie. So it's like subscribe to YouTube channels and playlists using RSS with EO feed with Emacs. That's great, it works for the latest stuff, but you don't have the ability to go through the entire channel or playlist. So that's really nice. And again, the other tip was play from here. Remember, play from here down here. So that's how you can play all of these videos one after another. So if it was like let's say like 80s pop or 70s funk or whatever, you can create a playlist of music and just go play from here, and it'll play all the music videos one after the other. So that's some of the options that you've got there. Yeah, and again, you've got the option down here to actually change the view type. So I like the wide list. User preference, that takes the order from the favorites.xml file, or you can override that so it's sorted alphabetically. And when you do that, as I said, it doesn't actually alter the contents of the favorites file. It just changes how it's displayed within Kodi. So I think that's the gist of everything. I'll put links to all this under the videos, Pilfer, Invidious, and obviously Kodi. But that's the gist of it. I said you can go through. Pilfer is really quick to install. Take you a couple of minutes, maybe a bit longer on Windows, and once you got that set up, you can use an external player, such as basically mpv with Kodi. And I said the advantage is it uses a lot less CPU than Kodi, and you can apply custom profiles to any URL. So you can apply different URL, you can apply different mpv profiles to stuff that's played with iPlayer as opposed to something that's played with something like Invidious, or just any old regular URL. So you can create different profiles with mpv, having it displayed full screen, on a particular monitor, or always a small little window up here, or whatever. But that's all for now. I'll wrap this up, put all the links under the video, but I hope that helps you sort of get a bit more out of Kodi and YouTube, because as I said, I didn't really want to use the Kodi YouTube add-on that requires you to put in your Google API keys. It's just a bit of a faffle to go through and do that, to be honest. So this is a much sort of nicer solution, much more privacy focused. The other thing that's just while I remember it is okay, hang on. Got Kodi, so got Kodi. It's okay. Yeah, okay, so Kodi, user data, add-on data, plugin video, Invidious. You got your settings here, so you can actually, these are the settings that were showing up in the plugin configuration section. Auto instance true, instance ID disabled dash. So you can either change the settings through the Kodi UI and make sure I'm on the right thing, or you can actually just come in here and change it. But you will probably need to quit Kodi, change this file, and reopen Kodi for it to notice the changes. But what I wanted to do was show the search history.json. So that's the search history.json file that basically corresponds to this. So when you come into Invidious search, what you do is you'll see a list of things you've searched for on Invidious, right? But there isn't a way to clear it from there. So let me just quit that. Come across back here, laptop, search history, and what we'll do is just clear everything in there. If we just clear everything in that search history. I come back here, open up Kodi. So that's the other nice thing, as you can see here. Now by default, this is open up onto the favorites page in this list view, which is much easier to navigate than the wall view, because if you're using a control, either remote control or the arrow keys on the keyboard, having to go through the wall thing is a pain, whereas if they're just in a list, you can just go up and down like that. But what I'm going to do is come back into Invidious, come across to search, and you'll see that's now empty and we have to click new search. So I just wanted to show you how to clear the Invidious search results, because you can't do it from within Kodi, just in case you searched for something you really shouldn't have. And it popped up when you were demoing it to someone. That might be a bit lame. So that's just how you clear the search results. And again, all the because it's using Invidious, it's going through that particular Invidious instance and then getting the videos, as opposed to using the Kodi YouTube add-on, which is going to be tied to your Google account. So whatever you do, whatever video you play within Kodi would then show up in your Google account, and you might not want that. So that's a wrap for now. I think I covered everything. I'll stick links to all this under the video. Hope it all made sense, and just shows you how you can, create individual strm files using a YouTube URL or the plugin, using either an external video player or the built-in video player, and also how you can have all your favorite channel, favorite all your YouTube channels and playlists, and how you can manipulate this view. But as I said, with the default skin, this is as good as you're going to get. I think some of the other ones like addon have sort of widgets that will allow you to display the favorites in various other ways, but using the functionality of the favorites is kind of limited, but it's the only option you've got for channels and playlists, because it has to activate the window for the playlist or the channel. You can't put that in a strm file or m3u8 or m3u file. So that's all for now. I'll wrap it up here and upload the video to YouTube.